y'all liked it, huh?
Hi, everybody.
That was so exciting, wow. Especially because this movie's playing in your house right now. The fact that y'all are here with us is like, I feel the energy. Thank you so much for coming.
You know, it's already in the top 5 too of most watched on the site.
Let's get to number 1. Let's get to number 1.
So thank you everybody for joining, everybody for coming here to see it. You know, this is a Screen Actors Guild conversation, so I'm going to focus a lot on the acting. But actually, Malcom, to start, to talk about the rehearsal process, because I've heard you made it very calm. You lit some candles. But what was it like getting this ensemble? Because in a way, a production like this really does live or die based on the ensemble. You know, and that's what it really is all about.
Entirely. This was that was such a focus of this production. You know, it was like I remember in prep, it's very exciting in prep when you're working with all the department heads, and it feels like you're telling your friends at school like that your friend from camp is coming. Where I'd be like, oh, the actor's coming next week. It's gonna be, you know, John, David, and Danielle and Sam. It's gonna be great, guys. You're gonna love everybody. And so when they did come and we got to rehearse, it was like I knew that this was gonna be a really special moment when we first got together, because at the first rehearsal, we started at noon or whatever it was, and we didn't even open the script until like 1, because everybody was just kind of talking and getting to know each other. And I remember just like sitting back and enjoying that, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great ride.
Danielle, in a way, it's true, right? Because this is a movie about family and ancestry, and so you have to feel like a family together in order for this to work. How was that early on coming in? Because these 3 had all been in the Broadway production, and you were coming in. Did it feel right pretty much immediately?
Yeah, you don't have to, you don't want to feel like family, you want to be family, right? And so it was instantaneously that. And that was enacted by me being the target of a lot of, you know.
What do you mean?
See, let me come here for lies. I haven't even finished. I haven't even said my noun, my verb. And there you go, right? It was instantly this. It was instantly this.
Yeah. John, David, tell us about the...
I think you know somebody, you know what I mean?
Tell us about the transition, because, you know, on stage, I'm sure there's lots of anxiety about memorizing all the lines, making sure that all your marks are just right. But on...
Yo, don't do that.
Sounds like a question for Malcom, actually. I'm sorry, go ahead.
John David runs for marks. He sees a mark on the ground, he's like, I know I'm not standing.
But I think I've heard you say that this, in a way, was more liberating an experience, because it could be much more intimate and, of course, reach many more people.
Indeed. I mean, knowing that it was going to be in people's homes and people can experience it in movie theater, you know, I had different I felt like we had different responsibilities. You know, I totally wanted to embrace a behavior, and, you know, some of the monologues that might not be said in the film, I could still use them in my behavior, in the way I listen, in my activity. Some of my intentions and the character interiority can stay the same, can be consistent with what we developed during the play. But be aware of what's happening, what's changing in the room, in the moment. Even with Berta, which what we did on stage, something else was happening, especially when we were done singing and we just had that quiet moment in the play. We got to kind of keep it going. But in this, we got to really sit in that trauma and together, this trauma bonding in a way, in silence, and that speaks volumes. To me, that's an extension of what August Wilson's writing as well.
You know, Ray, the subtlety of your work here, you know, in close-up especially, how, for you, was that maybe even more challenging versus being on a stage where you're playing to the back row? Here, the camera lens is sometimes just a foot from your face.
Definitely a different muscle. I think the beautiful thing was just how Malcolm and Mike, our DP, were able to get into those spaces that there'd be sometimes I didn't even realize the camera was actually on me, right? Like there would be some shots where they'd be moving around and, they would just land. And, my job was to just listen intently as I could. And I've got masterful storytellers who I'm working with. And so, just to be in the moment and to be present. And for my part, it just felt so natural, right? To just be affected by everything that's going on, both as the character, but also as the actor, because, you got Sam Jackson telling you this monologue, talking about this piano, and, we had done the play together, and, I've never once in the hundreds of times I've heard him do that monologue have ever lost my sense of awe when it comes to the listening and the telling of that story. It just helps that I've got masterful people around me doing what they do so well that I can just be in the moment and listen and breathe.
Mr. Potts.
Yes, sir. I got a mister. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, in a way, because I think that you've been referred to as Wilsonian.
No. Thank you kindly, but no.
But how important, in terms of even the initial impulses when you were much younger to be an actor, I've heard that August Fences was a major moment for you.
Oh yeah, it absolutely was. That's when I really decided to go for it. When I saw that it was a Tony Awards that year that Fences was up for, and they had done a little snippet of the great Troy and Corey scene with the late great James Earl Jones and the great Courtney Vance, and I was just enthralled. I mean, it just grabbed me. The language felt so authentic. And it was the first time in watching anything that I felt my experience as a black male ever was being represented. And that was the draw, that was the pull. And I ended up, being around a lot of August Wilson when I went to school, so.
Yeah. Shares
Just the light flex.
What?
Tell us about your role, not necessarily in the film, but on this set, among the other actors. As I think Malcolm. I mean, he's a mentor to.
Absolutely.
I mean, is it a heavy weight? Maybe.
No, it wasn't a heavy weight at all. They keep saying that I was a mentor. I just saw myself as another member of the family who cared and loved all of these people very, very deeply and cared about the story that we were telling. It felt like it was a family. This was our heirloom that we were all fighting over, and the things that haunted all emotionally and spiritually, how we were all sort of haunted. And I think maybe my job, and certainly the job of Whining Boy, was to interject a little levity every now and then, the laugh to keep from crying because of the weight. There was so much weight on this family. There was so much weight, even in the production design that you saw in the movie, that even when I first walked on the set, it just felt so weighty and so dark and claustrophobic that you knew that there was some heavy presence here. So no, I didn't feel like a mentor. I just felt like I just needed to do my job.
Well, the mentorship could come through behavior and how you were acting and how you performed. I mean, you said something about Sam. I felt the same way when you come in and these niggas round here, right? When you go into that, I love that. And seeing it on stage every night, I was just like, this dude he's one of the greats. That, and then your monologue about the piano. Is it me or is it the piano player? Seeing how you talk about that. I mean, that could be going for laughs and stuff, but there's something very deep and rooted in pain that we can all relate to, and it translates both on stage and on film. So that's mentorship, man.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Danielle, you know, we've seen you in Till. And also The Harder We Fall and in Station 11. I mean, I'm not an actor. I don't know how any of you do this, but especially in terms of your work in this film, the power of stillness. I've heard sometimes it said about actors, the hardest thing is doing nothing or seeming to, but the kind of center of stillness and quiet that you express through your eyes. It's hard to ask the question about how do you do it, but what is for you the importance of stillness in your craft?
I think it's the thing that we're all kind of chasing. There's so much movement. It's almost like constantly thinking about being in the eye of a storm, right? This thing is happening to these people. This thing is happening to this family. This thing is happening to these individuals. And peace, to get to some understanding, you don't have to do anything for that. That's what stillness is. I'm just present. I'm just being. It's in, out, breath out. And you can apply that to anybody. Like, it's also a concept of love. It's a concept of human expression. And so if that's a kind of core, it'll instantly, reflect itself in the passions that drive the person, and the passions that are sort of driving around the person, be it character, be it production design, be it, the language that comes out. So if that's what the core is, then it will reveal itself in all of the other behavioral manifestations that come out.
How, as the film gets closer to its incredible conclusion, like on the day when you have to sort of conjure up more, what is your method for doing that, for getting to that place when an ordinarily still performance actually has to become more explosive?
I think it's still a bit still peaceful. It's still it still has stillness.
Yes.
Something. There's an attachment, right? When people talk about the string from the head, there's an attachment from your head to your head, right? Spiritually, and it is there. There's a wavering, right? Because the wavelengths are moving, but that stillness is still being called through you. The piano is a portal. The body therein, the body is a vessel, a portal for a conversation that's being had between spirit and everything that is earthen.
John David, I'm curious about your relationship with Sam Jackson, because he, in 1987, I think, played Boy Billy, and I know that he's been careful about not, or he at least says in the press that he doesn't think it's fair to give you all kinds of advice about how to do the role, because that's sacred. But what is the relationship like in terms of your shared experience in this part?
Yeah, how deeply personal this character and this piece of work is to both of us, how it has affected our lives. He's talked about it publicly, and I just respect him even more so, knowing that where he is in his career, he's done it all, he's got it all, and he still cares this much about it. That he's off book for everybody's character at this point. He this is not something to play with, August Wilson. And you gotta earn the right to say these words, and if you do, then he'll open up to you. And I love that, And so I felt on a personal level, more so than just character discussions, but how our station and our relationship to acting and to show business, what this means, and we definitely were in concert and lockstep with that.
Incredible. Malcom, I'm curious to also have you talk about the sort of musical quality of this movie, the vibrant, the musical quality of it. how important was that? And we should say, you know, that it is an adaptation with Virgil to bring this to the screen. It's a cinematic play already, but to bring it even more power and music, really.
Yeah, music's a central theme in this, and if you know August, you know he's concerned with music, and the first element of music was the dialogue itself, right? Is what the words that the actors are given, and you know we wanted to, in the casting process, we wanted to have the best actors in the world do this, and for whatever reason, they all said yeah. so that was the first kind of layer of music, right? And then in the script, we kind of find how to find the rhythm within that. In the adaptation process, you know, you're kind of downloading everything that's in there. You're trying to understand as much as you can about August, his intentions, and his work. Moreover, even outside of this play, who he was as a man, and then you kind of put that through the prism of yourself and express it in the art form that you know, which is writing and filmmaking. So we wanted to include music in a meaningful way, and that kind of turned into all of these different elements of it. Obviously, we have Berta, we have the hesitating blues that Whining Boy does, and then we threw Erykah Badu in here, and we wanted to honor kind of the history of Black jazz at this time, and then we wanted to honor the diaspora in our music. We wanted to go from West African music with Fela Kuti to Salt, to Frank Ocean, and kind of connect Black people all over the world in a way that we are connected, and present that through music, through spirit. And then we have Desplat doing our score, which is this wonderful, grand, mystic and mythical thing. And in our film, we're making a film, but we always want to honor the stage because that's the medium that birthed this project. And I think in many ways, Desplat's take on the score was he brought the proscenium to the film. You know, he brought the curtains and the ornamentation around the stage, and we put the film inside of that. So I thought it was a nice, wonderful kind of mix.
Yeah. Incredible. Ray, can you share what it was like in Atlanta, and kind of what the experience with Malcom? Did you do a lot of takes? Did you do different versions of line readings? Did you get to experiment? You know, of course, the text is August Wilson's, but did you have freedom?
I mean, a lot of takes, that'd be a question for you. It's a relative thing. I'm sure I had quite a few that were not as good as what you saw up there. Hopefully.
No.
But you know what's wild? It never felt like we had a long day, you know, to me at least, which is a testament to how Malcom runs his camp. You know, it's one of those things where you're just excited to be with the people that you're with every day, even though you're in a soundstage, even though you're, you know, locked in this dark room. I'm like, there's no other group of people I'd want to be locked in this dark room with for, you know, 12, 16 hours a day. So for me, I'm like, however many takes you need, let's do it. You know, I'm like, well, we'll be here till we get it, right? Like, that's the thing. Like I said, when you're doing it with people that you care about and you're working on something that is as impactful as what this work is, it literally is the definition of a labor of love. And I'm just glad I got to experience it with all these folks.
Can I say something to that really quickly?
Yeah.
This is a challenging film to make because the scenes that we're doing are like 16-page scenes. They're very long scenes. Even what you see here is a truncated version of a lot of the stuff that we were doing. And the way that we decided to cover it was in this really fluid, kind of organic way. So they all had a huge burden every day where they're throwing themselves off the stairs every day. And they're these huge... He goes around the world with Chris Nolan, doing everything forwards and backwards. I can't get 2 takes. Going down the stairs. My goodness. But but it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge because you're doing. We didn't do this in little spurts where it's like just your coverage and just your coverage and just your coverage. Everything is you're on all day. Every take we did, you're on. Everything you did, and it requires a certain generosity for sure of the actors, and what they gave to each other I think was the most inspiring part of this, because when the camera's on you, when the camera's off you, it's so easy to kind of be like, well, I did my close-up, I did my part. But what often happened, which was so beautiful to see, was the most emphatic take that they would give is for the other person. Mm-hmm. What John David was giving for Danielle, what Danielle was giving for Ray, that would be the time I'm like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So I just really want to shout out their generosity and their preparedness, because we're shooting off the call sheet every day. We're going past what we're supposed to. We're doing all these things, and they were just ready. They were ready.
Also, the dialogue is very rich, but there's moments where it's wordless. The whole first 10 minutes of the movie, there's almost no dialogue. So there's power in that too, that you obviously.
Yeah, and I want to shout that out. There's a lot of actors that are a part of this movie that made this movie really rich that aren't here right now, that weren't on the soundstage. They didn't get the monologue, but they had to come in and deliver an entirely fleshed out character. Stephan James is one of them. He had very, very few lines, and they had such big emotional moments that they had to conjure almost entirely out of nothing, And there was like a week long where we're just doing the Stephan James movie, and him coming prepared and also meeting them at their level without a lot of the things that they had. I'm so impressed with them. I gotta shout them out.
Yeah. Again, I mean, the power of the ensemble, right? I mean, across the board. As we wrap up, Michael, I'm curious to ask about the new lens on this material, and sort of what it might mean, even for you personally, who have known the power of this text for so long. This is the third in the 10-play cycle, the third to be made into a feature film, and we already know it's going to be seen by millions of people because of where it's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the impact of it. We hope we're making that kind of impact, that people are discovering this voice of August Wilson that I think we in the theater always knew was a powerful and important voice in American literature. But people outside, because of the theater, it's limited. A certain amount of people, is expensive, so not as many people get to experience August Wilson, and now because of this film, because of Netflix, it's other people I think around the world are going to be able to get to see this, and they're going to be able to relate to this very accessible family drama, and a new lens on the Black American experience. That that we're more than just what you might get in a 30-minute sitcom or an hour something on broadcast. We're far more dynamic and complex human being. I was supposed to capture our humanity in such an authentic way, such a dynamic way. I mean, it's a gift, and I hope the world receives it as the gift that it is.
Thank you. Danielle, just wanted to ask as we finish about the piano as a vessel for storytelling in the film. And when we all leave here and we're going to talk about the movie and amongst ourselves and our families, it's actually happy almost Thanksgiving, everyone, because it is a good film and we're to talk about that way. Can you just reflect on the power of storytelling across generations that is so important to the success of this story?
Yes, I'd love to. We get a lot of questions about heirlooms, and do we have an heirloom, right? JD shares he has a necklace from his uncle. I talk about a pair of earrings I have from my grandmother. But more importantly, these objects, because that's what they are objects, they hold story, right? And so when you think about who's right, who's wrong, Team Bernice, Team Boy Willie. That's eradicated when at root you want to know the information behind the object, the information behind how this came to be and how it connects you to the individual who it came from, to the individuals who have had it before you received the thing. And so it doesn't matter whether it's Team Bernice or Team Boy Willie, it's Team Family, right? It's about the family. It's about the legacy, the stories, the myth making, you know, around the object. Because at the end of the day, materials dwindle, materials rot, materials will go back to the earth. But the story always holds a legacy. And so the griot in any family, and hopefully it's all of you in a family, can move from individual to individual, can move from individual parent to child. And so at the end of the day, we're thinking about Maritha. We're thinking about all of our Marithas. What are we leaving for our children? Do they know our story? And that's the beauty of it.
Well, you know, on behalf of the audience, I just want to congratulate Malcolm, your entire cast, and thank you so much for being here to talk about the movie with us.
And shout out to Corey Hockley for sitting there in the audience.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
Amazing.
Come on with you.